Hello guys, today we're going to take a look at something different, or at least it's different if you live in Ireland. It's an American truck called a Peterbilt, and this one is a new Ray model. It's already radio controlled, and as usual the plan is that it's going to be a quick changeover to my radio control system with a little bit more control. So first thing we'll take a look at here is the quality, which as I'm sure is quite apparent that it's nowhere near the same level as a CQ model. So you can see it's fairly plasticky, the wheels fairly narrow, the rubber on the wheels is fairly hard. It's not like the soft CQ rubber that gives you a really great grip, but it's probably alright. The wheels are quite narrow. There's two sets of dual wheels on the back, but again they're quite narrow, but I think you get enough grip. You can see here that one wheel free wheels and the other has the motor in it, so we just have a little motor in this little compartment here. The batteries supposed to be 4 AA batteries. Everything is fairly cheap, you know, there's nothing, no expense spent. Normally you say no expense spared, but in this case no expense spent on manufacture of this. It's all fairly crusty, and even around the cab we don't have clear glass, we have black glass. All of these things are, well, I suppose they're not the worst, but they are very cheap. Like, you can clearly see it's a cheap model. Even when we compare it to the MAN truck which we got in Alibaba, so this was a fairly cheap truck as well, you can see there's clear detail differences. Like, with the nice clear glass, the cab, the detail in the cab is there. The seats even fit the CQ figures which you can see in the cab there. It has the little clear lights similar to a CQ model. Now, it wouldn't be to the quality of a CQ model, but it's not too bad. This is a fairly decent model, that one. The dump bed is probably a bit crusty on this compared to a CQ one would be, and it's even worse on this one. This is pretty rubbish. But to be honest, I wanted to turn this into a kind of a flatbed truck. My idea was that I'd get rid of the tipper part, put a little flatbed in made of like lollipop sticks, the wee narrow lollipop sticks, and make it look like a wooden bed. And then I'd have a truck with or a tractor with a loader on it, just put pallets on the back of this, and I could tow the cane low loader behind it, which would give me extra room and make it a little bit more challenging to steer, because the steering on this is obviously going to be pretty atrocious in reverse, I would imagine, because it's very long and the distance between the drive wheels and the steering wheels and the drive wheels is pretty huge, so I'd imagine this is going to be really awkward in reverse. It doesn't look like the bed's going to be too difficult to get off. You can see a few screws there. They're coming up from the bottom. You screw it off and take that piece off. Then I'll probably 3D print a little frame and put the lollipop sticks on it just to give me what I wanted. So I'd say when I have the little flatbed part on it the way I want it, I think it'll look alright. Like, it's never going to be to the quality of CQ model, and I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it was very cheap. I just thought it might be something handy to turn around and have something different on the scenery rather than everything being European. Take a quick look at the controller. It's very clearly forward and reverse is possibly a potentiometer, but I seriously doubt it. I think it's just going to take off full speed and reverse at full speed. Steering wheel is the same, I'd imagine. It's just going to be full left or full right. I don't think you're going to have proportional control. It's fairly cheap, but like I said, it was cheap. I mean, it was I think this was like $20 or $30. I don't think it was too expensive. Well, that's enough talking about it. Let's see what it can do. Well, one issue I noticed straight away is, if you see there where the battery, the spring pushes up against this plastic piece, so when you put in the other battery, it's not tight at all. So I seriously doubt there's going to be a connection there, but anyway, we'll see. It's the same on the other side, a little better, but pretty much the same. Well, I couldn't find a 9-volt battery, so I'm going to rewire the bottom of this, but I thought we'd take a look inside it while I'm doing that. See what actually is in it. I wouldn't say there's very much. So you can see the little steering switch there, very simple. That is as we would expect. Yeah, exactly the same on the other side. So we're going to have no speed control, and then a tiny little radio board, and that's all that's in it. Very, very simple. Well, we have power on this side, but on this yoke nothing's happening. Alright, well, I jammed a little bit of steel in between the batteries and we seem to have it working now. Wow, that steering seems really rubbish. It's another one of these models that makes a heap of noise but doesn't really do much. Signal doesn't seem to be very good, although maybe it's because the antennas are touching it. Yeah, so I had the antennas touching there, that was making a bit too much noise. Signal noise, I mean. But yeah, looks like that's it. We have only one speed and you just flat out forward, flat out reverse, hard left, hard right. That's all the options you have. So it's pretty clear that when we change the PCB we're going to vastly improve the control of this model. But let's put it on the diorama and see how bad it really is. Okay, well, I've brought the model up to the attic here where I have my diorama set up. Only place I have big enough, so apologies if you can hear the tank filling in the background. But let's see if this thing can actually go round the corner at all. I think that would be a no. So as usual with these things, it's way too fast to control. With no speed control, it's pretty much impossible to get round the corner in one manoeuvre. But as well as that, the length of the truck here is kind of making it even harder, I would imagine. So let's see, can we do it in reverse? If you kind of jostle the throttle, you can kind of get a little bit of control, but it's still pretty difficult to do. So let's see if we can reverse it with any sort of control at all. Not really, we don't really seem to have any control in reverse. It's normally you'd have more control when you be reversing, but in this case I think the solid rear axle, but you've no differential, so it's kind of forcing it to go in reverse in a straight line. We'll give it another go just to see if I can do it any better. So kind of able to do it in the lines there, but still without the control it's just kind of all over the place really. So there you go, that's the new Ray truck. It's pretty cheap, but I don't think I'd advise getting it. Even if you were going to change the electronics, it's still pretty rubbish looking. It's not the best model, unless you just want to buy one and put the electronics in it to experiment like I'm doing. Then I mean, it's not too bad, because the whole of that cab you can put electronics in. You could mess around with a soundboard if you wanted. There's a lot of potential, just because of the space that's in the cab. But other than that, it's kind of rubbish. The steering's crap. I'd say I'll replace that with a servo. The motor is probably going to be pretty rubbish too when we actually put a load in it, but I don't really intend to draw anything too heavy with it, so I'd say it'll do for what I want. So that's all I have for this video. I'll be putting the new control board in the next video. It'll be pretty much like the Subaru build. It probably is just going to be one more video where we just put the board in it and then test it out. I'll probably change the front steering to a servo as well, because the motor's pretty rubbish there. So I think when we need, we kind of want it to deliver cargo, so we kind of need it to have reasonable control. I might also cut the second axle in half so that it's not impeding the steering as well. If the two wheels are freewheeling separately, then it'll probably corner a little better, but with the rear axle solid, it's still not going to be great. So if you want to see me converting this RC truck to my electronics, you'll see that in the next video, so you just have to wait for that. And if you have any suggestions or any comments, let me know below the video. And I think that's pretty much everything, so thanks very much for watching.